Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm Jess Hathaway, editor-in-chief of National Fisherman Magazine, and I have with me today Bri Dwyer, who is joining me to talk about the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute's celebration for home-cooked seafood with Alaska Seafood Hacks. It's a new campaign that is encouraging cooks of all kinds to share their seafood cooking secrets. Hi, Bri.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We're going to start by you talking about your connection with Alaska seafood.
Yeah. So my connection to Alaska and Alaska seafood started back in 2015. I actually, on a whim, moved to Dutch Harbor, which is the largest fishing port, in the United States by volume. And it was kind of a whirlwind experience. I kind of dove right into commercial fishing, just being in Dutch Harbor. And so that was my connection to Alaska. That was actually my first time to Alaska as well. And it was kind of the perfect place for me to really learn about the industry, being super hands-on with it and connecting with fishermen and captains and the people that call Dutch Harbor home. So
That's great. That is, so I'm sorry, where did you move there from?
I moved to Dutch Harbor from Bend, Oregon.
Okay, so a little
So
bit different.
yeah, very, very different. Not on the coast at all.
Yeah. And so how did that journey lead you to being involved with the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute?
So I actually met my husband in Dutch Harbor. My husband is Sean Dwyer, and our family owns some crab boats that we fish up in Alaska. And after him and I started dating, I started working on the Brenna A as a deckhand. And that's how I actually started photographing in the industry. So that summer, I took my camera up, started photographing, and really kind of fell in love with the fishing industry from that perspective. And once my photographs started kind of getting out there, that's how I got connected with Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute. And from there, it just kind of became, a great relationship for the two of us, because me being out on boats and able to be photographing in this environment was really helpful to Alaska Seafood Marketing. And Sean's been connected to ASME for a long time and has family connections, through ASME that go back a long time as well.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, we love your photos at National Fisherman too. They've definitely been on our cover before, and we love seeing you guys at Expo every year in Seattle because Sean has a long time host of our Fisherman of the Year contest, and he just does a
Yeah.
fantastic job with that. And I know that the two of you sort of have collaborated on a giveaway for this Alaska Seafood Hacks campaign. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So with the Alaska Seafood Hacks campaign, we have asked people, part of our followers on Instagram to kind of share their favorite cooking method for Alaska seafood to kind of uncover the best seafood hacks and also some of their favorite Alaska seafood recipes or dishes. And for the people who have commented on our post or who have participated, the winners have been selected and they'll be announced soon, but we are giving away actually 2 seafood boxes valued at $400. So they'll be shipped directly to their door, and it's a great way to get Alaska seafood in your freezers.
Yeah, definitely. Have you guys been offering these boxes before as a subscription service or anything, or is this just something you created for the campaign?
This is something that the Marketing Institute created for the campaign. So I know that they have some other influencers as well who are participating and giving away some seafood boxes. So I think it's kind of a great introduction for people who maybe don't have access to Alaska seafood or who don't know how to access it. A lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of retailers that can ship directly to you, and you can always, when you're at the grocery store, ask for Alaska, which is a great way. I mean, our local grocery store, I just went and I said, do you have Alaska Dungeness crab? Because it wasn't out in the display. And the guy behind the counter was actually like, actually, we do. And so he
Oh,
went
wow.
and grabbed the box out and grabbed it for me and showed me, from Alaska, which was really great to see and know that, anybody can do that.
Yeah, that is great. I would not think that just any grocery store would have Alaska Dungeness crab, but that's a good find for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I was surprised.
And now Sean's done with Opie's, right? So he's home with lots of other fresh crab in the freezer, I would hope.
Yep, yep. He just got home and he'll hopefully be home for a little while, but it's kind of nice because springtime is when we really start to stock up on a lot of our seafood, and start to kind of switch because we've kind of gone through all of our salmon uh, stock, and so waiting to get more of that. But now we have crab and halibut and shrimp, and so we kind of have the springtime to go through that before we refill with salmon.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fantastic from here. I do actually really like to get boxes shipped directly. That's my favorite way to get Alaska seafood. It just, it's fresh
Mhm.
and I just stick it right in the freezer and take it out whenever I want, and it feels like a little bit of Alaska all the way over here on the East Coast,
Yeah, yeah,
which is a treat, a big treat.
yeah.
So I want to ask because you've got your freezer pack at home. Have you always cooked and eaten seafood at home, or is that something newer since since you went to Alaska and saw it firsthand?
Yeah, actually, this has been something that has started for me when I moved to Alaska. I was not a big seafood eater traditionally, and I didn't grow up with it in my household. I think salmon was kind of the extent of
Mhm.
what we had growing up. And so it's been really fun for me as an adult to really explore more seafood options, to learn how to cook it. I mean, I had no idea even how to cook salmon. It was always something my parents made. And so learning how to cook these things and using resources like, Asm's website to be able to find recipes, and the online community of people that are out there cooking Alaska seafood has been really helpful for me because this has just been something that I've started doing in the last 5 years.
Did you get some good? I don't want you to give away who your winners were for your giveaway, but um, did you get some good tips, things that you'd never heard before when you were going through those submissions?
Actually, yes, there was a couple really unique uh, submissions that I thought, it was vodka butter to dip in. So they like told me how you make vodka butter,
Okay.
and then that's what you dip the crab in. And I was like, I have never heard of this before. So some really unique submissions, a lot of like, pickled fish.
Yeah.
That's not something I've explored yet, but I do know that it's very popular. And obviously for us, we got a lot of crab submissions. And really what most people have said is that just simple steamed crab dipped in butter is their favorite. Add a little
Yeah.
garlic for some extra spice.
Yeah. I mean, that is definitely how I tend to go with the crab.
Yeah,
Just keep it like I want to taste the thing, I want to taste the fish, the crab,
yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah.
Yeah. And a little butter. I mean, never really hurts, right?
Butter makes everything better.
It does. So, how often do you prepare seafood dishes at home? Now, I know that you guys have a new baby, so that might have changed your routine a little bit. But
Yeah.
tell me about how often pre-pandemic you were cooking seafood and just cooking at home in general versus now.
Yeah. We probably cook seafood a few times a week. Now it's a little different. I'm lucky if I get to dinner time,
Yeah.
and get to make dinner. Um, but a lot of the times, like we cook a lot of salmon. That's something that is just super easy for us to go and prepare. And then whitefish, we always have cod in our freezer, and so that's something that we use quite a bit. Whether it's, I love making like cod fish and chips at home, which is can be super intimidating to people, but is really not that hard. And
Okay.
then also using crab to make, like, especially in the wintertime, crab bisque is one of my favorite things to make.
Hmm.
I do that a lot. But now we're actually looking for, so now that she's 6 months old, she can start eating solid foods.
Yeah.
And it's actually recommended that babies are introduced to a variety of foods, including the high allergen foods, so seafood and shellfish.
Mhm.
So we're actually getting ready in the next couple weeks to make some salmon and give her some salmon for the first time, and pull out a little bit of crab and let her taste it, because not only is it super healthy for young children to be eating seafood, but it's also really important to expose them to it to reduce their risk of allergies.
Yes, absolutely. So I will just add that both of my kids love salmon and have from the get-go. I've got one who we are sort of trying to figure out if he's got any kind of shellfish allergy, because he did have a reaction to some lobster, which is heartbreaking being in Maine.
Ugh.
But it may have just been, if you don't see it again, it might have just been that batch. So
Yeah.
we're testing that out. But yes, I highly recommend to anyone who's starting to feed their babies out there, start with fish. And it's such a great and easy form of protein. And if you get them eating it young, they'll love it forever, I think, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of that is just seeing your parents eat it makes kids
Yeah.
more likely to eat it. They might go through phases where they decide not to, but they generally come back to it. Anything that's normalized at home tends to be easier to come back to after you've passed through a picky phase.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as long as you reduce the choking hazard, so we'll get it, nice and soft and mashed up, and let her try it. I mean, right now it's obviously more about just kind of tasting it and
Yeah,
practicing eating. Um, but yeah, we're excited to see what her reaction is.
that's exciting. Yeah. So I want to talk to you a little bit about frozen seafood, going from hyper processing to feed to babies. Now let's go to frozen. Do you cook from frozen?
So Sean and I were actually just talking about this last night, because this is something that we should be doing more of, because it's so easy. And we have an air fryer. So especially when we're cooking just, small amounts, or if I'm cooking for just myself when Sean's gone, I use the air fryer a lot. And cooking from frozen is something that I recently started doing because actually of the Alaska Seafood Hacks campaign. Um, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great and easy. And it really still has that fresh seafood taste, because it's, all Alaska seafood is frozen fresh, typically within hours of it being caught. And so it really locks in that fresh flavor. And so when you're just cooking it from frozen, it's kind of like you just got it right off the boat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't do a ton of cooking straight from frozen. I have done it with salmon. Um, but it's something that I want to play around with a little bit more too, because I know a lot of people do it, and like, why not? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. You can take it right out of the freezer and and cook it up.
Yeah, it can be ready in like 10-15 minutes,
The air
depending on what
fryer
you're
is a
cooking.
that's a good tip. I like that one.
Yeah.
So is that how you make your fish and chips?
So actually, yes, because you do want to have the codfish kind of be. I like to have it just be slightly thawed, because I still want it to be able to have a little bit of that moisture. And so when I make the batter and dip it in, it has uh, the rigidity, because it's still slightly frozen, which is nice, and it's easier to
Hmm,
work with versus raw fish.
that's really good to know. That's a great tip. So do you have to cook it longer in the air fryer than you would if it were completely thawed?
Well, with fish and chips, I put it straight in the oil.
Okay, you put it in
That
the
one,
oven.
yep, yeah. And that one, so when it comes to cooking any kind of protein, I'm really diligent about using a thermometer, a meat
Mhm.
thermometer, just because I'm not a good judge. And so that's just a really good tool to have for people who don't cook a lot of meat. And so this is a great option for um, people who are kind of unfamiliar with cooking it. Is just get yourself a thermometer and know what temperatures, and go from there, because it, it's peace of mind really that I'm
Yeah.
not making eating something that's raw.
Yeah, that's a great tip. So an instant read thermometer.
Mhm.
All right, that's a good one. Um, so I know that you were saying that you might not make it to dinner some of these days, but if you do, can you talk about some meals that are easy to prepare in 30 minutes or less?
Sure. Well, shrimp is one of our favorite seafood proteins to cook because it cooks up super quick. We'll make shrimp fajitas. So just bell pepper, onion, some seasoning. Sometimes you can find those like fajita sauces that you can throw in a pan, and grab some tortillas. So that's a super easy one. We actually have shrimp coming up, shrimping here in the spring. So we'll be getting more of that. Salmon is a super easy one. And that one, I like to do it super simple, just salt, pepper, and then Olive Garden's vinaigrette dressing, pour it over the top, and then just throw it on the grill. And it's ready in about 18 minutes, I think is what we cook it for.
Is that the Olive Garden, like just the Italian dressing?
Italian dressing.
Randomly bought some of that last week. It was on sale.
Yeah, so because it has a higher oil content. And so pouring it over the salmon, it really keeps the moisture in the salmon, and it has so much flavor, the dressing does. And so pouring that over the top of it, it just kind of soaks into the fish and gives it a lot of flavor. And you don't need any other seasonings besides salt, pepper. Throw a couple lemon slices on top and you're good to go.
I love that.
That's probably my favorite. And then leftover salmon, I'll take that and use it just like I would tuna fish. And so you just mix it up, make a spread with it, and put it on a sandwich or a salad, which also canned seafood if you're not making fresh salmon. So canned salmon is a great option to use for things like that. It's super easy to make it, turn it into a sandwich or put it on a salad.
Yeah, yummy. All right, I'm getting hungry. It's almost lunchtime here. So I'm ready to go and make a big salad downstairs. One of the things that I love to do is, I know not everyone loves kale, but I love to just keep massaged kale in the fridge. And I put any kind of seafood on it with like a little salad dressing, like a couple of basic vegetables. And that is one of my favorite quick lunches in the middle of the day. Especially since I'm home most of the time now. I feel like I can eat all the canned tuna or salmon that I want without offending anyone at work. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite things about being home.
And I think canned salmon is not something that's super well known, at least here in the United States. People gravitate towards canned tuna, but you can use canned salmon the exact same way. And it has a ton of flavor. It tastes great, and it's really, really easy to use, and it's quick. So if you need something for lunch that you want, high protein, good fats, that's a great option.
Yeah, I love it. And it makes a good salmon cake too. That's one of my favorite ways to make fish cakes.
Yes.
And those are quick too. All right. So I have just a couple more quick questions for you, and then we can wrap it up. But I know like it's starting to feel, it's still February, but it's starting to feel warm here, and people are talking about summer get-togethers. Can we talk a little bit about grilling and moving into the next season? Like, what are your favorite grillables for the summertime, for a crowd or just for the family?
Honestly, I feel like people are intimidated when it comes to grilling seafood, and really all of it. You can use all seafood can be thrown onto the grill and cooked that way. I think the easiest one for us, especially when we have big groups of people, is probably salmon or halibut. And summertime Alaska salmon is it's just kind of like the feeling of the season. It's salmon is summertime, and so especially here on the West Coast. And so I feel like that's probably one of the ones that we go to quite often because we have it available all the time. And then shrimp and shellfish, if you have those grill baskets, the shrimp and the shellfish, or like kebabs, are super easy to just throw on the grill, and you just, flip them once. So, I mean, I would say for us, for big groups in the summertime, it's either shrimp or salmon.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the thing about shrimp is that people tend to overcook it on the grill.
Yeah. Super quick, throw it on, season it, throw it on, a couple minutes, flip it, pull it off. It's really one of those things that it doesn't have to be on there for very long.
Yeah. So that's a good appetizer too.
Yeah.
All right, good. So,
Barbecue shrimp wrapped in bacon. Oh,
yeah. Well, I
right
mean,
along with butter, bacon makes everything better.
bacon, butter, a little bit of chocolate. You can make anything taste good.
Yeah.
So besides seafood, because I know you have plenty of that, what are 3 things that you always have in your pantry or fridge to make a quick, easy seafood meal?
hmm Um, so we always have, this is going to sound really strange maybe, but so salad dressings,
Mhm.
not for salad. I use a lot of salad dressings for marinades, or to just like if we're making some sort of like rice bowl, I'll throw a little bit of like a goddess dressing or something like that over the top of it. And the Olive Garden dressing as a marinade. I love like a French vinaigrette marinade.
Yeah.
So, I play around with a lot of different types of salad dressings as marinades. And so that's something that I'll be at the grocery store and I'll just be like, oh, that sounds really good. And I'll just grab it and throw it in the cart. It might be in my pantry for a month before I pull it out. And I'm like, oh, we're going to try this tonight.
Yeah, that's definitely an excellent tip. I do the same thing for all kinds of protein, including, tofu, seafood, land proteins, everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, having it for the marinade and then having a little extra to pour on after you cook it is a nice, quick and easy sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could
Um,
even whip up a little oil, like a little extra oil in it to be
yeah.
the sauce later too, or to be your marinade. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what else?
Yeah, so salad dressings. Um, we do a lot of, so when we're looking at like a complete meal, those organic microwavable rice packs that you can get at Costco
Yep.
to pair with our meals, that's like for quick and easy and efficient. That's something that I always have in the pantry, whether it's the actual rice or the riced cauliflower if I'm wanting to go on a little lighter side. But it's one of those, we'll always have those in our pantry as well to throw in the meal. And then I would say we also, I, having produce in the fridge sometimes with our travel schedule is really hard, but having some sort of like bell peppers and onion mix, because that can go in any kind of like stir fry, or it can go on, roasted. We pretty much eat, that's like one of our main vegetables, bell peppers and onions, I would say, because they
Yeah.
kind of go with everything.
And you keep them fresh or do you freeze them together?
We keep them fresh as much as possible, but that's a good tip right there. That would
I
be great to
never
be able to
thought of
throw
it.
together, like
Yeah.
prep it, throw it in the freezer and have it to be able to pull out. That's great. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to
If
do
you're
that.
going to do a stir fry, I hadn't thought of it either until you said that. And I thought, oh, that's a great hack. Cause I know people who always keep frozen onion in
Yeah,
like the onion in the freezer so they don't even have to cut it up when they're prepping for supper. They can just throw it right in. And
yeah,
I've never done it, but
yeah.
I like that
Well,
idea.
so with boat cooking, everything is pretty much frozen. Sometimes in Alaska, especially in the wintertime, it's really hard to get fresh produce.
Yeah.
And so vegetables are always frozen. And when I go up in the summertime, I never actually think to, prep fresh frozen. It's always like you purchase the frozen veggies.
Right.
But yeah, for boat meals, frozen vegetables, frozen everything is pretty much kind of how you have to cook. So that's a great way to kind of do it on the boat and at home.
Yeah. So that is my last question for you. What's your favorite thing to cook and eat on a boat?
So I know I keep going back to the same protein, but especially in the summertime. So in the summer is when I'm up on the boat the most, and that's when we have a little bit more time to cook.
Hmm.
And so salmon, because we have the access to it, and so we're right there and we have, salmon available to us. And so it's something that, and smoked salmon, we do a lot of that in the summertime as well. And so everybody has, I feel like, especially in Alaska and fishermen, they have their smoked salmon recipe.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are reluctant to like give it away, but
Yeah,
you're constantly trying everybody's smoked salmon all summer long. And you're just like, oh, what's in this? It's so good.
yeah. And that's usually hot smoked, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the bacon version of salmon.
Yes. Candied. Yeah. Lots of brown sugar.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
Hmm.
delicious. I really
Yeah.
miss it.
Yeah. We kind of always have like a batch rotating in
Mhm.
the refrigerator in the summertime.
Oh yeah, that sounds delightful. What a way to spend the summer. And so that's usually, is that tendering in Bristol Bay or is that somewhere
Yes.
else? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. That's in Bristol Bay. Sometimes we'll be down in Southeast Alaska in the second half of the summer.
Mhm.
Um, but Bristol Bay is where we spend a lot of time.
That's great. So do you have any parting words for our home chefs and Alaska seafood eaters before we head out?
I just want to encourage more people to be less intimidated by cooking seafood at home. There are a lot of amazing recipes, and ASME's website has a lot of great recipes and seafood hacks for people who are wanting to cook more seafood. So definitely go check out Alaska Seafood Marketing's website, alaskaseafood.org, for more recipes, and just, don't be afraid to give it a try. I think that that's kind of the thing holding people back is they don't know how to cook it, but it's a lot easier than it seems.
Yeah, I agree completely. Thank you so much, Bri. And I just want to add that the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute just published their 40th anniversary cookbook that has a ton of great recipes, and it's got some more involved recipes, but it has lots of really accessible, easy weeknight kind of seafood meals in there too. And I think they just put out the electronic version of that as well. So that's a nice one to just sort of keep in your pocket, have a bunch of recipes at the ready.
Great.
So thank you so much for being with us today. And I just want to say to anyone who wants to participate in the Alaska Seafood Hacks, make sure you hashtag Ask for Alaska and Alaska Seafood Hacks. And there are other giveaways and things happening until this campaign ends at the end of March. And so I hope to see lots more seafood pictures online. And I will catch up with you again soon, Bri.
All right. Thanks, Jess.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye.